On the hunt for a 14th straight victory, Edmonton kicks off a 3-game homestand tonight before the All-Star break. We get you set for the Oilers and the Blue Jackets on the Oil Stream pregame show. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the pregame show right here on Edmonton Sports Talk. Tom Gazzola with you in the EST Satellite Studios in downtown Edmonton. Matthew Iwanyk holding things down back at EST HQ. He's got Zach to come with him, so we'll probably, maybe if Iwanyk wants to allow it, see and hear from Zach to come later on. We did have Zach to come do the player of the game last week. It is the 26-15-1 Edmonton Oilers taking on the 14-22-9 Columbus Blue Jackets. The Blue Jackets kicking off a Western Conference road trip 5-gamer, Edmonton, Calgary, Vancouver, Seattle, and then wraps up in St. Louis. You can join the conversation. Hit us up on the text line, 780-218-9999. Maybe you're making your way down to Rogers Place, getting a quick bite to eat, maybe a beverage or two before you go into the arena and pay $20 for a beer and or cocktail. And if you're watching on our EST YouTube channel, big time thank you. Those numbers keep going up for subscriptions. Absolutely fantastic to see. So if you haven't subscribed yet, please do so. Hit that thumbs up button as well. We certainly appreciate that. All right. Maybe we bring in Matthew Iwanyk. Can we get Iwanyk in here? Iwanyk, you doing all right?
Here. Yeah, I'm here. Well, I'm in charge. So you don't have to ask. You just have to say, Matt, you here? And I'm right here. I'm sitting here. I'm ready to go for you, Tommy. I'm here for the next hour and a half. Whatever you need, I'm here.
I appreciate it, pal. I have a couple of things I want to float your way. I'm going to get to the question of the night, but I just want to get to yesterday and the craziness that we had on EST and all the breaking coverage. We carried the press conference live. Like, that was a hell of a day on EST, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, fun day. We got the audio of Ken Holland and Corey Perry's press conference. Something that, we used to always do at 1260 was when those big press conferences happened. We brought them to the people, and that's what we're continuing here at EST. So we were able to do that yesterday, which was a lot of fun. Had you down there. Had a great little backdrop with you right at Rogers Place, and the rink behind you is the Oilers had finished up practice. Yeah, it was a good day to just cover the Edmonton Oilers. And, it was nice to have a press conference where it wasn't someone losing their job, Like, we've gotten so used to that type of stuff. And here we had one of those this year. But yesterday was, hey, look at this guy that's coming to the Edmonton Oilers. And you brought it up yesterday in the Oil Stream at the start. You said you just thought about how he almost was an Oiler 21 years ago. Yep. And then that was brought up. He brought that up in the press conference yesterday, Corey Perry, and talking about how he's at the World Juniors at the time, and there was he was following along that maybe Mike Comrie, the deal for Mike Comrie, the Ducks, and all of that, and so it was a fun day. How was it for you being at the rink with all that happening, with Corey Perry on the ice for the first time, and then that whole presser?
It went well, I think. Overall, it went well, and I was saying this today at the rink. Like, today was a really ho-hum, quiet day, and Maddie, you've been there on game days. You know what it's like. It used to be like game day was the big one. Like, everybody was there, every media outlet, visiting media. That's a big deal because it's the game tonight, right? Now it's more so like yesterday felt like what a game day used to be because everybody was there. There was a million reporters, a ton of cameras. Everybody had questions. There's a good excitement in the air and in the arena. And then today was just kind of like, well, 5 guys went and practiced. We're sitting around waiting for Chris Knobloch and Dylan Holloway. Do we want to go over to the Columbus Blue Jackets room? Yeah, I guess so. See what's going on. Was it busy? Was it exciting? No. But yeah, it was. So yesterday with the announcement and all of that, it was like, it felt like what game days used to feel like. And then today's game day almost felt like a practice day. So it's kind of weird the way it's kind of flipped like that. But trends change, right? And you just got to adapt on the fly. And that's what it was like. But yesterday, honestly, I think, the announcement, we talked about it on the oil stream yesterday. Would Perry address some of the things that happened in Chicago? And those questions were asked, and he didn't really want to dive too much into it. He brought up the mental health aspect and getting help, which is a good thing, and he advocated for that. He seems to be in a good place, and the Oilers are probably pretty content with their signing, and the fans seem to be, for the majority of what I've seen, okay and happy about this signing. Did you see any pushback, Maddie, in the nasty chat or the text line yesterday when you were kind of making sure everything was running smoothly back at ESTHQ?
This is one of those weird moves where you're not finding any negativity to it, I don't think. I don't think anyone has looked at this and went, bad move. Often you have the moves. There's some universal moves that just everyone hates, or there's a lot of others where there's a question mark from some side, and then the other side, they're really good with it. This is one of those moves. Honestly, I haven't seen anyone really look poorly on it. I think the closest thing you could critique this is the bonus structure, once again, is only 10 games played for Corey Perry, and then you've got bonuses penalty for next year. Right. And now it's only $225,000, but you add that on top of Connor Brown. Like, they are starting to eat up cap space next year with bonus overages for just games played. Like, that's the closest thing I think I've seen to people maybe being a little disappointed, is that it's not goals or it's not performance bonuses. It's strictly based on just being on the ice. But even then, I haven't even seen a lot of people talk about that one much. But that's, I think, the closest I've seen to anyone looking at this move with any sort of negative eye. For the most part, I think everyone understands that him coming in, he brings an element to this team as a pest and just that grittiness that this team could just use. He comes into this team with that leadership and experience, and he comes to this team with the likelihood that he's, for what his role will be able to produce a little bit offensively. I don't think anyone's going to sit here and think that he's going to also light it up, be a point per game guy, but for what he will do, like just getting, 15 points, maybe 12 points or something, he's going to be able to produce a little bit. So I don't think we've seen yet anyone negative. And I guess basically we'll have to watch the nasty chat and the Paris Jewelers inbox tonight to see if anyone has themselves a negative feeling on this, or where they would look at negative. But I don't think we're going to see many of those, or really any of those.
Yeah, no, it's been pretty much positive. Perry so far this season through 16 games, all with the Blackhawks, obviously 4 goals, 5 assists, -5, and 12 penalty minutes on a young, not so good Blackhawks team, and looking to get back into the swing of things. Sounds like Saturday afternoon against the Nashville Predators is when we will see Corey Perry make his Oilers debut. At least that's the plan for now. 780-218-9999 if you want to text us, and then in the nasty chat if you want to get at us. I see the nasty chat going. I will get into that shortly. I also want to throw out the question of the night as the Oilers and Blue Jackets go toe-to-toe for the first time this season with the addition of Corey Perry to the roster. What do you think is the next area of need for Ken Holland heading towards the trade deadline? 780-218-9999 or the nasty chat. With the addition of Corey Perry to the roster, what do you think is the next area of need for Ken Holland heading towards the trade deadline? Maddie, what do you think?
Yeah, I think based on where we've seen this team playing, you asked me that a month and a half ago, it would have been an easy answer. Goaltending, it's not that answer now. To me, it's just strictly a depth defenseman. I don't think the Oilers are going to be 100% comfortable enough, or should be comfortable enough, going to the playoffs with the core as is. They're playing well. I don't want to take anything away from how this defense is playing. But I look at it and go, like, if there's a spot where you might have an injury, just the grind of defense in playoffs, that's the one I look to. And I see a lot of depth overall when it comes to the forwards. Sam Gagne's a guy that could jump in the lineup if you need to, if somebody gets hurt. There's maybe Adam Erne has to come up, and he's a guy that can draw back into the lineup if need be because of some sort of injury or depth or something. It's defense where it's, okay, what are you doing if somebody gets hurt? Who's coming in? Are you comfortable with Philip Broberg being that guy? And even if it's not Philip Broberg, who else is coming in? Is it Ben Gleason? Like, that's the spot I think if you're Ken Holland, you're looking at right now as the top priority. It's moved up your big board to be number one as if you're going to go make a move before March 8th, bringing in some sort of veteran presence to help add depth to your blue line, I would have to think that is the priority. What about you?
I'm with you on the added depth at defense. Right now, Matt, like they have 6 healthy defensemen on the roster
Yes.
because earlier they sent Phil Kemp back down to Bakersfield. And so they're hoping, knock on wood, if you're an Oiler fan, obviously, that they get through these next 2 games into the break without any issue. If there's an injury up front, well, Corey Perry has to make his debut maybe a game earlier, fitting if it were against the Chicago Blackhawks. If it's on the back end, you're calling somebody up immediately. So it's obviously, you look at the roster, they need another defenseman. And so do I think there's a better option out there than Philip Broberg, Ben Gleason, obviously Phil Kemp? Yeah. I think you go and you find somebody from another team on a cheap contract and maybe as close to the deadline as possible and has been through the rigors of the NHL postseason. Hopefully a guy that has Stanley Cup Finals experience, something like that. Do I know which guy? Have I looked at targets yet? No, I haven't. That'll be some homework that I'm going to need to do over the break. But that's the type of player, if the Oilers could find a way to bring in, I think they need to address the defense just to have someone as a 7 in case somebody gets nicked up. And we know that happens in the postseason. The goaltending urgency, I think that has died down a little bit, just given the fact that Stuart Skinner has been excellent. 10-game winning streak. He ties Grant Fuhr for a franchise record. Has a chance tonight to beat that record, which would be another feather in his cap. And this team is just cruising along. And I think the priorities have shifted. So, Maddie, I'm with you. A depth defenseman, veteran guy, somebody who doesn't have to play every single game, but you can rely on when you do sprinkle them in there, here and there. And I think that would be ideal. Maybe even another forward. I don't know. If you could find a way to get another forward, sure.
Here's the other thing. Like, adding just a depth defenseman doesn't seem like they need to. That's a lot that you're adding going into a deadline or through a deadline. A lot of people want the Oilers to go on all in this year. And look, they are going all in with their team. Can you afford to sit there just adding a depth defenseman if you're Ken Holland? Or you like, what is the all-in move that you try to do to add to this team? Are you also, if you're Ken Holland, willing to mess with potential chemistry to do that all-in move?
I mean,
like, is a depth defenseman enough for Oiler fans to be comfortable with? Going through, like, because that it does seem like you don't need much else. Now, look, there's still all of February that has to be played for us to get a better idea of this team, and I'm sure Ken Holland's going to wait and watch that a little bit to make his move and figure out what he needs to do. But if they're playing 90% of what they're doing right now, 85% of what they're doing right now, which is really good, and it's probably what we'll all look at and be like, that's capable of winning a Stanley Cup.
Yeah.
Can you just go with the depth defenseman move and have everyone be okay with that?
Everyone being okay with it, everyone meaning Oilers fans?
Yeah.
No. The answer is no, because they're never satisfied, right? Until the Oilers win a Stanley Cup, they're never satisfied. And if this team in the next 38, 39 games that remain on the schedule,
40.
If they can, how many?
They play 42, I think, so they have 40 left.
40 left, pardon me, yeah. If they can put together a really, really nice run where they are just at the top of their game and they're, climbing their way to the top of the standings, maybe challenging the Canucks at some point or getting close to them, then I think people might be able to take a breath. But I don't think you're ever going to satisfy Oiler fans. But I do think, like, realistically, when you take a step back, if things continue to go the way they do, and you have Corey Perry in the lineup, and you've got Dylan Holloway, and he's looking like he's turning a corner, and you're sitting guys like Gagne and maybe even Connor Brown. And obviously, he's not had anything turn for him in a good way. Up front, I think you're okay. And then on defense, if you add a defenseman, and the goaltending, man, the goalie market sucks. Like, we're going to watch a guy tonight, Elvis Merzlikins, who wants a trade, had some value before, and it's basically gone now because he put it out there that he wanted a trade, and there were no takers, nobody really inquiring, everything pretty lukewarm for Merzlikins. So that's indicative of the goalie market. It's not very good. When you're saying that Jake Allen is an option, woof. But that's just my 2 cents. This text comes in via the inbox from Brandon from Windsor, who says, if you could get Parayko for Kulak, CC at 2 first with $2 million retained, would the Oilers do it? Broberg can replace Kulak. That's from Brandon from Windsor. Would I do Parayko for Kulak, CC and 2 first with $2 million retained? Or would the Oilers do it? No, I don't think they would. Broberg, at this point, cannot replace anybody. This blue line is humming right now, and I don't think they want to mess with that. And I don't even know where Philip Broberg fits in the long-term picture. I don't know if as of today, if he's traded by the deadline, I would not be surprised. I don't think that Broberg can replace Kulak. And I've seen a few people, not just Brendan from Windsor, but I've seen people just like float trading Kulak. It's like, why? What do you want to trade him for and why? It's kind of like, why fix something that isn't broken? That's how I look at it, at least. I could be crazy. Maddie?
Yeah, no, okay. I just want to go back to here. I'll pose the question another different way then now. Okay. If Ken Holland could get a veteran defenseman but doesn't give up his first-round pick, could you live with Ken Holland not trading the first-round pick this trade deadline?
Sure. Maintain an asset.
Or does he have to actually move it just because you've got it? If he can make the one move without it, does he have to move it to try to do something else because of going all in this year? Can he afford to have this team go into the playoffs knowing he still has his first-round pick, or does he have to move it at some point? If he could get the veteran defenseman without it, because that might have to be used. This might be a moot point, just if that's what it's used for, that veteran defenseman. But if he can find a way to get that veteran defenseman without that, can you keep that? Or do you have to just, no matter what this year, move on from it if you're Ken Holland? Because that means you just have to bring in a different piece.
It has to be the right move, Maddie. Like, if you're 100% certain it's the right move, it's going to put you over the top, then okay, you could part with your first-round pick. But if that move isn't there, or you try to force it and you're like, I have to get rid of it, may as well just get rid of it, I think that would be the wrong rationale or wrong mindset to take into the trade deadline. But it's a chip he could play, for sure. But I think you have to be really certain if you're moving an asset like a first rounder on the guy coming back, his impact on the team, how long he could be a member of the team. Does he put you into Stanley Cup contention? Like, you have to do your due diligence and homework, but I don't think you have to move that first round pick. I think you have to do it. If you are going to do it, you have to be so certain about who's coming back the other way that it is the right move. If you're just doing it for the sake of doing it because you think you need to, I think that would be the wrong strategy taken into the trade deadline, in my opinion.
I would think most people would agree with that. There will be some people, though, that just go, how did you not move this first? Right?
Probably.
There will be some that just are upset that the first wasn't moved because they just want it moved. Because then it's just symbolic to some people. I think that they're all in. When I think you're right on this, where it's got to be the right move you're doing. If you've made your moves and you still have it and there's not that right move for it, why move it?
Yeah. And if you're moving it to appease people via symbolism, get out.
Well, Ken's out anyways, it seems.
Yeah,
right?
That's
like
true.
Ken's in that spot where he actually might be out anyway, so who cares for him?
Good point. Freezer Bag via the nasty chat. Well said, Matthew. Freezer Bag says, why would you trade Broberg? We need small contracts. Well, Broberg wants to be traded. That's why. Well, his agent at least wants to get him moved. So yeah, I don't know where things stand with Philip Broberg and the Oilers, but when he's not getting called up, Ben Gleason's getting the call up ahead of him. Phil Kemp, it was a reward for Phil Kemp for being a good long-time prospect. And I know Broberg's playing well down in Bakersfield. Ryan Holt, broadcaster for the Condors, had a great tweet with an update on Broberg's numbers of late. Obviously, he's motivated, and that's a good thing, and that's making him play good hockey. You like to see it, but I don't know where things stand with him and the Oilers. But yeah, it wasn't at a good place when his agent hinted at them wanting to move on from the Oilers or requesting the trade. So I was told Kenny Holland was taken aback by that, and it didn't sit well with him, and understandably so. 780-218-9999 if you want to text us if you're on your way to the game. Big Dave says this. So if we're going to speculate for the deadline, seeing as Campbell is doing better in the AHL, if he keeps it up, do you see him get a few games in here before the deadline to showcase for a move? Big Dave. I'm glad to see Campbell playing better. I don't know if you want to showcase him just for the sake of showcasing him. I think I get the sense that they're just kind of like, we'll worry about that later, kicking the can down the road with Jack Campbell, and maybe they just leave him be down in Bakersfield. If something happens with your goalies and he's playing good and you need to get him up here, that's great. But keep in mind, if they have to send Pickard down, he does have to go through waivers, and it's likely with how bad the market is, somebody would take a flyer on Calvin Pickard. So I think they might just be leaving Campbell down there until the playoffs. And then when the Jackets or when the Condors are done, they could call up some black aces, and maybe Jack Campbell could be one of them. 780-218-9999 or via the nasty chat. The question of the night: with the addition of Corey Perry to the roster, what do you think is the next area of need for Ken Holland heading towards the trade deadline? All right, let's get into starting lineups now for the Oilers. No real changes. McDavid with Nugent Hopkins and Hyman, Draisaitl with Kane and Fogle, McLeod with Janmark and Ryan, Holloway between Gagne and Brown. On defense, Nurse with CC, Ekholm with Bouchard, Kulak and Desharnais. Out for the Oilers, Corey Perry. Weird, right? I know. As for the Columbus Blue Jackets, they're going with the same lineup that they had the other night. Cole Sillinger between Johnny Gaudreau and Yegor Chinnikov. Boone Jenner between Adam Fantilli and Jack Roslovic. Dmitry Voronkov between Kent Johnson and Kirill Marchenko. Kirill Marchenko, that guy can score, man. Sean Corelli centering Alexander Texier and Justin Danforth. Don't even text it, anyone. Don't even text it. I'm just going to say it. Justin Danforth showcase game? Not. On defense for the Jackets, Damon Severson with Adam Boqvist, Ivan Provorov with Andrew Peak, Jake Bean with Eric Goodbranson. Out for the Blue Jackets, Patrick Laine, IR collarbone. He might be returning soon. Same with Zach Werenski, IR ankle. Matthew Olivier, Emil Bernstrom, and David Urasek are the scratches for Columbus tonight. That brings us to our starting goalies. For the Oilers, 25-year-old Stuart Skinner, 21-9-1 on the season, 253 goals against average, 906 save percentage, 2 shutouts in 32 games this year. Versus Columbus, Skinner, 1-1-1, 272 goals against average, 909 save percentage in 3 appearances against Columbus. At the other end of the rink, it is he who wanted to play like a monster and who wants to be traded, 29-year-old Elvis Merzlikins. 8-9-6 this season, a 326 goals against average, 905 save percentage in 25 games. Versus Edmonton, Merzlikins, a 1-1-0 record with a 267 GAA, 928 save percentage in 3 appearances versus the Oil. 780-218-9999 if you want to text us. Let's get to a few before we head inside the Oilers locker room. We'll start with Pillman. Hello, Pillman. Says, happy game day, boys. Thank you for being so great. Pillman, thank you. I was in Mexico, and you kept me going with the post-game shows, and I was ripping it up at the pool, letting everyone know we were on an 11-12-game heater. LOL. Keep up the well job. Maddie, do we have Mexico on the board?
I think so. I haven't looked. Actually, Zach comes and posts them. Is Mexico on that board?
Yeah, there's some Mexico.
Yeah, we have some Mexico up there. But not all of Mexico, so we don't know where Pillman was.
Pardon me. Pillman, let us know where in Mexico you were so we can pin it. Bobby LaFrench says, Kulak is a playoff monster. Do not move him. Also, it would be amazing to hold on to the first. The Oilers prospect pool dwindling badly. Even then, the player pick could be traded at next year's deadline. Thank you, Bobby LaFrench. And Displaced Yukoner says, with the way things are going, I see this as almost a trap game. Elvis might be mad the Oilers passed on him. He's just mad. He's just mad anyway. He was mad the other day on the broadcast. He's mad he's not getting traded. So, yeah, he's just mad, Elvis Mers Lincolns. And then this one from Naughty Possum says, can't wait to see a great solid game by the boys tonight. See you down at the rink. Naughty Possum, glad to see you made it in. Safe travels. The roads, I hope, were good. See what's going on in the nasty chat. What would Chicago's Corey Perry tribute video look like? Box Pounder, no tribute video. No tribute video. And Penner's Pancakes reiterates Kulak is a playoff warrior. Don't trade him. And Pete says, cheers from Vancouver, Washington. You guys make my drive home fun every day. Pete, thank you very, very much. Very, very much. Another one from Brian Nugent Hopkins says, hello from Wales. Put it on the board, Zach. Put it on the board. All right, Maddie, let's get to some Oilers audio. Let's start with Chris Knobloch today following the Oilers' optional morning skate.
In terms of when there's a scramble around the net, you're under pressure, what type of commitment are you getting, not just from the defense, but from the forwards to collapse and play desperate in front of your own net?
Yeah, anytime that puck's low around the net, we want guys collapsing, helping out. Hopefully our defenseman's job is ultimately taking away sticks and not worrying about the puck. And then, hopefully the forwards, we can outnumber their team around the net. We can scoop up those pucks. But, often you ask your goaltender to make the first save, and then after that we need a team effort to clear up the mess.
So when you have a goalie as hot as Stu, 10 in a row and only 2 losses in the last couple months or whatever it is, how much is that him? How much does it go hand in hand with that better defensive commitment?
Well, I think with the team playing well with more structure, giving him more predictability, it's easier for the goaltender to play. And, I've been happy pretty much with how the team's been playing, but Stu gets a lot of credit. He is outstanding, and when there are breakdowns and when the puck doesn't go in the net, you don't really notice the breakdowns because there wasn't a result. There was a save. But if you're not getting those saves from the goaltender, then you're looking at the defensive breakdowns and what happened. But Stu has been playing really well.
Chris, go ahead, Tony.
No, go ahead.
I was just going to say, have you noticed, I know every post game after win is exciting. Do you sense it's at all different as the streak has grown, or you don't really know how many in a row it is? It's just another win.
Yeah, I don't know if they're more excited that it was 8 in a row or now we're 10 or 11, whatever it was. I don't know. I think we just have a group of guys that are feeling good about winning games, whether it's the first one, the second one, third one, whatever it was. And just, I think also the biggest part is the streak is nice, but just having the feeling confident where we are in the standings. We're not chasing a bunch of teams like we were a few months ago. And I think the guys are just feeling like, all right, we can relax a little bit. We can feel confident. We don't have to worry about everything else that's going on.
Now that you've been able to watch the game tape again, what was your assessment on Dylan Holloway's return on Saturday?
I thought he played really well. I thought he played a really good game. Here's his first NHL game playing center. And, the timing can be difficult just with the breakouts, defensive reads, responsibilities. I thought he did a heck of a job all over the ice. And offensively, he created some scoring chances. He was on the ice for the game-winning goal, but he made a couple excellent plays on rushes where he set up Connor Brown in the first period, so CC in the second. He made some really nice plays, but we were very happy with his performance.
Chris, just when things are going good in your experiences with teams in the past, how do you make sure that the process is thorough, bad habits aren't creeping in? Do you have any tips, tricks, or things that you've learned along the way to make sure things maintain the way they're going?
No, and as I feel that I've got that all under control, and know what the players need to hear in that, and then they surprise you, and you're like, no, I didn't know what to do. So we're just treating it like every other game, doing what we did. We have a process that's going on right now, and it's working well. That we're working on things in our game. We have won a series of games in a row, but none of those games have been perfect. We have had things that have been weak, whether that's in the defensive zone, our breakouts, not having enough net presence, whatever it was. Maybe it's discipline, taking too many penalties. There's always something that we can get better at, and tonight there's going to be something we're going to focus on.
Do you, as a head coach, you were in Erie where you had kids, then you're in Hartford where you had obviously younger players on their way up. When you're head coaching in a room like this with lots of hockey IQ, lots of older guys who've been around a long time, do you have to coach differently? Do you have to adjust because of your pupils, as it were?
I think I'm adjusting. I think every team's different, no matter what your age group you're at. In NHL, with this team, I'm sure I'd be coaching differently if I was with another team, just because your personnel, whether they're an older team, younger team, more defensive structured team, whatever it is. But I think with my coaching, it's been pretty similar, whether it's been junior age players or the American League, NHL. I don't know. I've got a system that I feel comfortable with. I've been doing it, and I'm sure my interactions with the players are a little bit different, but my philosophy on how to deliver a message, how much information they need, is pretty similar.
All right, there's Oilers head coach Chris Knobloch. Kind of funny. He says, I tell them one thing and they do another thing. But no real tips, tricks, or anything like that to keep the good times going. It's all on the guys in the room. Of course, he'll provide the guidance that he can as the team seeks a 14th straight victory. Let's take a look really quickly at the inbox, 780-218-9999, or via the nasty chat if you're watching on YouTube. This text comes in from Conroe, Texas, checking in. Why would we mess with the 13-0 team? Good question. Good question. All right, all the way from Texas. We're getting a lot of spots on the board to add. I love it on the EST map. Very good. Keep those coming in, 780-218-9999, as well as the nasty chat. Hey, Iwanyk, we should mention one other thing too, right?
Yes, what's that?
Before we get to Dylan Holloway, we should bring up the fact that we have a Super Bowl party, and we want people to join Edmonton Sports Talk at Century Casino Sports Bar and Lounge on Sunday, February 12th. You'll have a chance to win EST merch, a spot on the Hangout, and more. Plus, our 6 o'clocker lager will be in stock and available for the big game, only at Century Casino on Fort Road. So we're all going to be there. Did I see Eric? I retweeted. He said he tweeted out a link to the shop. Are we back with the shop? What's going on there?
Well, yeah. So quickly, just with Century Casino, also food menus under $10 too. So it's going to be great. There's a chance that you could be either celebrating the Lions with Dustin Nilsson. There's a chance you could be celebrating the Baltimore Ravens with me. Whichever way you choose to lean. I know which way most people would choose to lean. We'll see what goes on this Sunday. We have some extra merch. And if anyone goes to EdmontonSportsTalk.com, at the top it says Shop EST. I just have it's not the store like we had before, which was a lot easier. But we have some merch that you could purchase from us right here at our office. The inventory and pictures are right there, so you just go to EdmontonSportsTalk.com. At the top it says Shop EST, and whatever we have left over, we'd like them left over, but we have some extras of certain things. So if you missed out on the pop-up shop in November that we did, we do have some things now available, including the hoodies, the sweatshirts, the hats, toques, and t-shirts and stuff like that. So
I like it. It's good stuff. Get it on that, and then of course Super Bowl. Century Casino Sports Bar and Lounge. Our whole crew will be there. And how about this? Old Redbeard himself, Scott Laurie, chiming in, says, fellas, 5-1 Oil win tonight. Book it. Redbeard checking in from Mill Bay. He's just a traveling man, isn't he?
And he's going to be traveling a little less on Friday because he's coming in for Sobe's Beer of the Week. And then he's sticking around for the Hangouts on Friday. So we're going to have a fun time with old Redbeard on the Hangout. Looking forward to that one.
Awesome. That's going to be a lot of fun. I love Redbeard. Great guy. Thanks for tuning in, Redbeard. Hope your travels are going well, my friend. look forward to hearing some stories when you do get back. All right, Iwanyk, let's go back inside the Oilers locker room and hear from Dylan Holloway.
First game playing center in the National Hockey League. How would you assess it went for you?
Yeah, I thought it went pretty good. Ultimately, we got the win, which is huge, part of history, so that's pretty cool. I think personally it was a good game. Felt pretty good, felt pretty confident in the draws, and yeah, had a lot of fun, so it's excited for the win.
I'm sorry to cut
No,
you
you're
off
good.
there. I know talking to you pregame in Calgary on that Saturday morning, you said you were excited to get more touches on the puck because of that role. How do you feel like that benefits your game?
Yeah, I mean, I think just getting touches all over the ice, like as a centerman, because you're more low, you're kind of supporting your teammates. Just kind of builds a confidence with your game. I don't know. I think just handling the puck a little bit more, whether it's a split second or just a little touch here and there, goes a long way. So that's why I like playing center.
All right, under Chris Knobloch, obviously the one thing he's known for is empowering his players.
Yeah.
Your first game under Chris Knobloch, how would you kind of assess, or at least in a while, how would you kind of assess it went for you?
Yeah, I thought it was pretty good. He was talking to me on the bench quite a bit and kind of giving me some positive reinforcement. So definitely helps the confidence and felt pretty good.
Dylan, before you got hurt there, that game in Seattle seemed like your best game ever at the NHL level. Is it tough to try to get back to that level, the confidence, the feel and all that? Do you think you're kind of creeping towards that a bit?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely hard coming back after injury, especially being off for 2 months. But coming back in the game, like I was still confident in my ability. I felt, even though I was out for a while, I was still trying to get better, and I still feel like I improved over that time. So I think confidence-wise, I feel pretty good right now, and just want to keep it going.
What's it like being called up and the team's on just an incredible tear? You get to kind of pick it up pretty quick, I guess.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. Obviously, it's kind of an honor to be part of history. I know I wasn't really involved in the first most of the games, but just to be a part of it in the last game there was really special. It was really cool. And I guess the big thing is trying not to get in the way. The team's pretty hot right now, so don't want to do anything to ruffle any feathers.
When you're coming off an injury like that and you're out for the better part of 2 months, is there any like mental hurdles that you also have to kind of jump over, especially in the first few shifts of coming back?
Yeah, coming back, definitely. I think I was a little nervous, like not crazy, but definitely haven't been playing for a while. So coming back, especially in that environment, Battle of Alberta, the Saddle Dome was kind of bumping too. I had some friends and family in the stands, so I wanted to show well. So, but yeah, I think just first shift, just trying to get involved, and then after that first shift, I felt pretty confident.
What about your new teammate? A lot of noise yesterday about Corey Perry coming in. This is a guy I'm sure you grew up watching since you were a little kid. Have you had a chance to introduce yourself, talk with him maybe a little bit, get to know him? Because the guy's been around forever.
Yeah, he came in yesterday. I talked to him a little bit. Just introduced myself. Obviously, like you said, he's a legend. He's an awesome player and he's been around the league forever. Remember watching him win Stanley Cup when I was about 6 years old. So now to be teammates with him is pretty special, and I'm super excited to see what he can bring. And I think he's going to be a great addition to our team.
All right, that was Dylan Holloway, who's made his return to action and looked pretty good playing center the other night in Calgary. The Oilers looking to make it 14 straight wins in a row after collecting the 13th in Calgary at the Saddle Dome over the weekend. If you want to text us, get at us, 780-218-9999, or via the nasty chat. We want to hear from you. All right, time now to bring in the big man. It is Matt Kassian. Let's get him in here for Game Changers, brought to you as always by Damon Bunting, RE/MAX Elite. Damon Bunting, consistent, top producing realtor in Greater Edmonton and among RE/MAX realtors. He and his team would love to help you find that right home or make the move from your current home. Community driven, he understands what it takes to make a difference in our city. Check him out, DamonBunting.com, or visit his Instagram at Damon Bunting Real Estate. Hello, Cass. Good to have you back. How you been, buddy? How was the weekend?
Good to be back. Say, I had a little event on Saturday, so I knew I wasn't going to catch the first half of the game, and I didn't want to fake it on the post game show. So appreciate authenticity. Appreciate the help out on that. And I was busy eating a kangaroo and wild boar and some other kind of crazy stuff. So I had a little wild game dinner event, which was good. And then right back at it, Tommy. Right back at it as we slowly parade towards this all-star break, and the Oilers just, I don't want to say they keep surprising us at this point, but they just keep rolling on.
Yeah, they do. But we got to take a second to pause. And where the hell are you eating kangaroo and wild boar? Was that one of the Bunting brothers?
Yes.
Yeah.
No, no, it was actually Blake Bunting. It was his event.
Okay.
So it was one of the Bunting brothers. You know, Damon Bunting was there as well. So we got to chat for a good little time, which we actually sat at the same table. So it was actually good to spend some time with him as well over there. But yeah, it was a big hunters, like a wild game dinner event, and yeah, it was a lot of fun.
What was the best to eat out of the exotic meats that you tasted?
Yeah, those smoked wild boar sausages were spectacular. Like the
Oh,
bison was good. They had bison roast. It
I've
was kind
had
of like
bison.
the main dish. And I've had bison
Yeah.
quite often, but the bison roast was really good. Like it was very very tasty. But those wild boar sausages just absolutely slayed me. Like they were fantastic. So I love those bad boys.
In bun or just like by themselves and you dip them
Just
into a
by
sauce?
themselves, just slice them up.
Ooh.
No, didn't need to dip them with anything. It just a real nice smoke on there. They were juicy, they were succulent, they were delicious. It was great.
All right. Well, this segment's going to get juicy, succulent, and delicious
Yeah.
right away here. It is Game Changers with Matt Kassian. I'm getting hungry all of a sudden, but the Oilers in search, maybe hungry for another victory as they welcome in the Columbus Blue Jackets to town. Cass, number one on Game Changers, shift at a time.
And we've heard the Oilers say it quite repeatedly now, and it's kind of a phrase coming out of everyone's mouth that it's like they're not really looking at the streak, they're just trying to take it game by game. And I get that. That's the right mentality. And for this one, it's going to be a shift by shift mentality. I mean, you've played a lot of really really good hockey. You want to continue to play really good hockey, and that mentality that they've had, and they've done it so well, Tommy. Of it doesn't matter if we score first or get scored on first. We're just going to go out. We're going to do our thing. We're going to stick with it, and we're going to have a positive outcome at the end of the game. Just a continuation of that mentality is just exactly what this team needs to just make this final push into that all-star break, Tommy. I mean, if you want to keep winning and you want to keep a streak alive, that unflappability and that just systematic, just go out, do your job. Just go out, do your job. Just go out, do your job. That's going to be so important, especially I feel like against teams like a Columbus, where it's like they're not a great team. If you go through the up and down the lineup, it's like, yeah, you got Gaudreau and he's got some points, but they're not a really offensive team.
No.
They're not a really defensive team. They're just kind of there.
Yeah.
But it's a young enough team, and it's going to be a team that is like, well, we're not winning anything. And really inside the dressing room, this is, and I could tell you, this is Columbus's locker room mentality, because I've been on teams that have struggled. This is your mentality: is we want to ruin this streak. We want to be the ones to ruin this streak. You're not making the playoffs. You're not going to win a Stanley Cup this year. So you're looking for things to motivate you and drive you as a team. And this Columbus team, I guarantee you, every single person inside that dressing room is going like, let's be streak busters.
Yeah.
Let's be streak busters. Let's be the ones to end this record-breaking streak. Let it be us. And so for Edmonton, I really think against a team like Columbus, you're going to get the best of the Columbus Blue Jackets. And if you don't do that shift by shift like you have been doing so well, Columbus can surprise you. They really can surprise you, especially early in a hockey game. So just maintaining that. And again, Tommy, they have done it so well. But just that approach of shift by shift, no matter what happens, systematically, you should be able to systematically dismantle the Columbus Blue Jackets.
All right, couple of observations. Today at the rink, being around the Blue Jackets for a team that has had its struggles, its turmoil heading into the season, pretty casual demeanor and attitude around that room. Like, listen, like you said, Cass, they know they're not winning a Stanley Cup this year. But I noticed it. Like, for a team that has just gone through a bunch of crap and injuries and a coaching change to start the year, it seemed pretty airy around there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, nothing, it wasn't too dark or no clouds hovering around that team.
Well, you've passed that time already, Tommy.
Yeah.
Like earlier in the season, it would have been the dark and clouds and everything blowing up. But at this point where it's, again, you're not making the playoffs.
Mhm.
You're not winning the Stanley Cup. You're not going to be all moody around there, because it's like, not that you're still going to be frustrated at losses, and at times, yes, you will find that moodiness again because you're not very good. But it's almost like you've resigned yourself to the fact that you're not going to be a winning team. So, Tommy,
Right.
It doesn't surprise me at all. Like, it's not. I wouldn't expect them to be all kind of moody. It's going to be airy. It's going to be light. And like I said, they're going to come into this with the desire to be streak busters. I mean, it's something that they're going to want to hang their head on. That players, young players, want to go, yeah, we didn't do very well, but remember this moment. Like, games like tonight are opportunities for them to have those moments to hold on to keep it light and airy and not dark and depressing.
The Blue Jackets, 1 win in their last 5. That last win coming against the Vancouver Canucks in a shootout. So
a very good Vancouver
Canucks.
Got
the Canucks, right? Yeah, exactly. And then the other thing, Cass, I was going to say is I asked Chris Knobloch today. I mean, you don't want to see bad habits creep into your game, especially when you're playing well, having results. You and I have discussed it for years on this show now. And I said, is there like a little trick along the way that you've picked up, or do you have any kind of little things to keep the guys in line? And he's like, honestly, it's really the players, and they police themselves, because like I've learned that I can tell them one thing and then they go and do the opposite. And I have no control. And he's kind of joking about it, but it's funny how it works that way, isn't it, Cass?
Well, ultimately, and we talk about this with coaching and coaching changes and all that thing. These are all professional hockey players, some of the best in the world. You're not going to be able to overcoach them. Mm-hmm. You have to know how to talk to them. You have to know how to pull the right levers, press the right buttons, motivate people, because people respond to different things. How to talk to them. But it's not like, I don't know. I mean, you want to. I think from a coaching standpoint, he maybe didn't bring it up, but you're going to try to show positive habits and negative habits, even in games when you win, and that's kind of what you do. But ultimately, as he said, it is up to the players. It is up to the player. Like, it is your responsibility as a player to go out and to not let those habits sink in. And so far, Tommy, it's not. There's been some moments during the streak, and there's been some games where they haven't played at their best, and they've got bailed out by some goaltending at times. Like, let's look back all the way to that Chicago game with Stuart Skinner.
Yes.
There have been those moments along the way, but for the most part, they've done a pretty good job of policing themselves. And it's, I would say a compliment or a positive thing for this team to hold on to. And hopefully they can continue to, just not let those habits creep in.
Well, speaking of Stuart Skinner, Cass, that leads us right into number 2 on Game Changers tonight, and that's Skinner's legs. He's going again.
He's going again. Going again. I was a little, I don't want to say shocked, but I was a little bit like, huh.
Yeah.
Like when Stuart Skinner was starting again. I mean, I 100% in my brain had Pickard penciled in to start this game against Columbus, with Stuart Skinner wrapping up the last 2 before the break. So I was a little surprised by this. Now, I get that Stuart Skinner has been playing well. He's been playing absolutely lights out, fantastic. But at what point does Pickard need to go in? And I know, we had on the 2 guys in a goalie podcast earlier, me and Gager disagreed a little bit on this. I mean, he was pumped. He's like, yeah, Skinner, hot hand, roll him in. And I'm just like, well, you need to get Pickard in, and Stuart Skinner at some point is going to need a little bit of a rest. Now, maybe that's me being a little bit nitpicky just from an overall season standpoint. But hey, Stuart Skinner's played a lot of hockey. So how are his legs going to be? Is he going to be able to just maintain that drive and that focus after now winning 10 games in a row, which is absolutely nuts that he's been able to do that, just like the team winning as much as they have. So, I don't want to say I'm concerned, because I wouldn't say I'm concerned about it. But there's a part of me that's like, he could have used the night off.
Right.
He could have used the night off. And if, let's say, things go completely sideways and Stuart Skinner doesn't play well, then, people that have the same feeling as myself are going to try to jump all over that and be like, that's the reason that they lost. But it is something, Tommy, that, I think we should all be aware of. And I think it's okay to point out that, like, hey, he's played a lot of hockey, and is he going to be able to maintain his level, or are we going to see signs of maybe some energy slippage?
Well, I guess you look at the schedule and you go, well, Thursday then will probably Calvin Pickard's game. Saturday, likely. Maybe. I would think so. And then Saturday's the last game before the All-Star break / the bye week. And then you don't get back until February 6th against Vegas. And then you have 2. I just took a quick look at the line or the calendar for next month. 2 sets of back-to-backs next month. So it's not like it's an overly heavy and tedious schedule next month. So it's interesting. This will be Skinner's 33rd game. The team's 43rd as well. So, yeah, he's played a lot of hockey. I don't know how much they're going to dial it back. I know that they felt, or there was some in the organization last year that said that they played him too much down the stretch. Cass, I'm a little bit surprised, just like you. All right. It is Game Changers, brought to you as always by Damon Bunting, Remax Elite, Matty Kassian, bringing us Game Changers. Number 1 was Shift at a Time. Number 2 was Skinner's Legs. Number 3, Holla Back Game, Cass.
Yep, Dylan Holloway, as we just heard from a couple minutes ago, second game back in the lineup. Steps into that center position, and I want to see more of this. I want to see more of him. I think a big opportunity if Edmonton plays the right way, maybe to get him some more minutes here. Is coming off of an injury. Is it just the adrenaline of being called up again that carried him last game? Because I thought he played a really solid game. The parts of the game that I watched, I thought he played very, very solid against Calgary, and it's certainly. Him playing that center position, I think it's a big deal. It's a big deal for this lineup and for your lineup depth, especially now, adding Corey Perry and like just having those extra bodies that can either play a different position or slide around the lineup if you need them to is absolutely massive, not just for now and down the rest of the season, but also into playoffs as well. And this is a guy, I don't think it's like you just made a deadline acquisition by getting Dylan Holloway back in the lineup. I don't think he's a veteran enough player that we have seen enough from at this point where I would classify it as like, oh, it's just like you just traded for a new guy.
Right.
However, it is a young player that can bring some energy that we saw some really good signs from before he got hurt. And we saw some great signs from him on Saturday as well against the Calgary Flames. And just, I think, a further opportunity for him because he maybe turned some heads a little bit, not, our heads, maybe not necessarily in the organization, but our heads and fans' heads to say, you know what, this is a guy that we've really only seen play winger thus far in his NHL career, but they, had him playing center in the minors, when he came back from injury and he worked his way through there, played quite well. And now they threw him right back into that center position here in Edmonton. And it's just, I just want to see more of it, which is why I think it's going to be I don't want to say it's going to be the absolute key to the game, but it's something that I want to be watching for tonight and paying attention to is the ability of Dylan Holloway just to continue to perform for now, a second game and then hopefully beyond at that center position.
Cass, I knew he was playing center down in Bakersfield, but people were texting into Oil Stream and Dusty Show and even the pre and post game show saying, hey, do you think he plays center when he gets called up? And I'm like, I don't think so. I thought that they just put him back at center. So that's been an interesting development. Now, the other one was yesterday when the Oilers made it official, signing Corey Perry. What do you think of this, Cass? And how does this change Kenny Holland's game plan going into the trade deadline?
I've been chewing on this since the Corey Perry rumors arrived, and I kind of didn't know how to take it at first, like couple weeks ago.
Right.
I didn't necessarily know how to take it, but the more I chewed on it, and when they announced the signing, I actually like it, Tommy. I like it, and the reason I like it is for a couple of reasons. Number one, you're adding a veteran guy with playoff experience, that plays a style.
Yes.
That no one else really, aside from Evander Kane, no one else in the lineup or in the organization for that matter really plays that way. Like who else do they have that just, Dylan Holloway's kind of maybe finding his way a little bit with that,
sure.
But playing that agitating, going to give you a face full of leather after every whistle, going to be, chittering at you. You're going to be saying something, always going to be giving you a stick in the back of the legs, like always just kind of just involved in agitating. They don't have anyone like that. So I like it for that. Like it for the playoff experience. And lastly, one of the other things that I really think this helps with is just your overall depth. And you did it without having to spend any assets. Now you spend cap space. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
You were able to have Adam Erne clear waivers. So it's not, the difference between the two, it's not really a big deal. So you essentially got him for free. Obviously you're paying a salary. There's a cap space, but you didn't have to trade anybody for him. So you made a depth addition that can help you down the stretch. If you really need him to, can play up and down the lineup a little bit. Now, hopefully he doesn't have to. Hopefully he can just third or fourth line, just steady, greasy, grinding, agitating, chipping some points along the way. But you added an incredible maybe isn't the right word. You added a significant piece of depth without having to have assets out, which keeps your powder dry.
Yep.
To be able to, and I know it's a question of the night, to be able to look for maybe that depth right-handed defenseman that you want to bring and being able to spend something on that instead. So, I mean, I like it. I know that there's some people who are like, oh, well, it's another problem person. He's going to be on his best behavior. Like he wants another contract next year, whether it's in Edmonton or elsewhere. And so he is going to be on his absolute best behavior, and you don't have him signed beyond this year. So for me, it makes total sense.
to me, he's just a mercenary basically at this
Yeah.
point in
Oh,
his
yeah.
career.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I don't think there is a long-term fit for him here, but I could be wrong. But Cass, like this guy, he's one and done with teams, turn and burn, and he's just sticking around, and it's been working for him. Maybe this is the year for him. Who knows? I'm not going to say it. I'll leave it there. How does that sound, Cass?
Sounds perfect.
Dude, this was a perfect segment. I am hungry because you got to eat what? Kangaroo, wild boar, and what else? And bison?
Elk, bison, a
Oh,
little bit
man.
of caribou. I think there may have been. I actually don't know if there's caribou, but elk, bison, definitely deer, and wild boar. So it was a night.
Well, welcome back, Cass. Great stuff as
Yeah.
always, my friend. We'll catch up with you on the post-game show.
Sounds good, Tommy.
That does it for Game Changers, brought to you as always by Damon Bunting, Remax Elite. Let's go inside the Columbus Blue Jackets locker room now and hear from head coach Pascal Vincent.
We missed him. We missed him quite a bit. He brings maturity level to a younger hockey team. He's a guy that brings intensity. We know what to expect. There's a trust factor on the ice. Is preparation, and you can't teach that. You have to experience it. And when you have a guy like him in the dressing room, the guys see it, and that's what we miss the most.
Is it even just his presence, not necessarily on the ice, but just him having
on the ice as well?
Yeah.
Obviously,
Yeah.
but his presence was missed. We're looking to. So we have a leadership group, but our job is also to develop the next generation, and we can educate our players on leadership, but the best way to learn is from watching and observing older players like Boone, and he's a real good captain for us.
You've had a lot of challenges already this year with teams that you've played that's super skilled and whatnot. Obviously, the team that you're playing tonight, 13 wins in a row, probably arguably the two best players in the world. I mean, what are you guys facing tonight, and how can you guys use it? Can you use it as a motivational thing?
Well, the one thing we can do is we can skate. When you look at the charts and the advanced analytics, that's the one thing we can do. Obviously, we know McDavid is elite skating, McKinnon and those guys are just at a different level. But our job here tonight is to focus on what we can do. And there's a lot of respect, and we respect those people. We respect that team very much. But we also have to respect ourselves. And having said that, we want to attack the game. And we know they're good, really good. We know they're going to create their chances. We know that it's a game of mistakes, so mistakes will be made on both sides. But we need to be prepared to play a skating game and to compete hard. And without this, there's nothing. There's no X's and O's. It's about competing and skating today and understanding when they're on the ice. But I think the focus is going to be on us tonight, not so much on the opponent.
Do you have any lineup changes tonight?
No.
Elvis back in net?
Yes.
As you've got Jason Krog here in person,
Yep.
how beneficial has he been for your sentiment?
He's outstanding. Such a smart hockey mind. His demeanor is really good in the team setting. He connects with the players. He's helping. Since he's been working with us, our face-off percentage has been improving. And the guys, because he's so smart and his approach is different, he's helping quite a bit, so it's good to have him around.
I talked to Cole about it yesterday, and he said it's one thing to have it over the phone, but just to have that in-person, face-to-face instruction is very beneficial.
Yeah, just little tricks that he can show on the ice to improve, because that's one area, that's the only area in hockey that you can have a set play, either offensively or defensively. After that, it's read and react. So we have our systems, obviously, our routes and all of that, but that's the one area where you can have a set play but in order to create offense, whether it's a breakout, neutral zone regroup, or offensive zone play off the face-off, you need to win it. And until we're at 100% all the time, we're going to keep working on it. But he's a big help.
Is he about the perfect guy for young players like Adam and Cole?
He's good with the younger players, Fantilli, Sillinger, Johnson, but he's also really good with the Corrali and Boone Jenner. Yeah.
A trip like this, 5-game road trip, how does it help become a young team? You guys are together all the time, as opposed to
we needed that trip.
Yeah.
We've had trips. We had a hard schedule the first 30 games, hardest schedule as far as playing games, and then we needed that longer trip so we can have some team activities, building team activities. I know the players had one when we landed here. But it's for the coaching staff, for the players, for being in a different environment, for our young guys understanding what it takes to be successful on a longer road trip. There's so many benefits to it.
We talked obviously yesterday about how Line and Werenski are getting close. I mean, those are two lineup regulars, obviously. So when they come back, unless there's unexpected injuries, you're going to have some tough decisions to make, you in the front office.
Yeah.
How does that kind of stuff? I mean, is that kind of situation in the room with potentially guys who might be affected by it? I mean, is that something they just kind of inherently know, or is that something you need to address with them?
No,
at all,
I think they know. I think they know. They're men, and that I believe in that competition within the room. That's very healthy. They see those guys practicing, and both of them have been practicing really hard. They're getting ready to come back, so it creates that sense of competition, and we welcome that from training camp to all the way through the season. That's something that is healthy in my mind. There's always somebody that wants your job. And that competition, whether it's coming from within the team here in Columbus or from our younger players in Cleveland, I think it keeps everybody keep things in perspective a little bit and pushes people to give their best effort.
You guys have been without those big names for quite a while.
Yeah.
You just get Jenner and Corrali back recently. Those two are on their way back. But over that span of time, I think you've played close to 500 hockey.
Yeah.
What have you learned about this team without them in the lineup?
Well, our room is really good. They really enjoy playing for each other, and that's a big component of successful teams. So we've learned that younger players can take a certain amount of bigger responsibilities and run with it. So those games that we were without Corrali, without Boone Jenner, without Zach Werenski, Patrick Laine, the league tells me, and it's a league rule, we have to put 5 guys on the ice. And because of that, we put guys in situations that maybe they weren't ready at that moment, but they had that experience now. And that's the silver lining of all of this. We had to play players a little bit more and in different situations, whether it's 5-on-5 matchups or special teams.
All right, there's Blue Jackets head coach Pascal Vincent there talking about the imminent return of guys like Zach Werenski and Patrick Laine, just getting Boone Jenner back into action. And his team looking for its 15th victory of the season. The Jackets roll in with a 14-22-9 record. And the Oilers, meanwhile, 26-15-1. The Oil with 13 straight wins, looking to make it 14. Columbus, 1 win in its last 5 games, a 1-3-1 mark. But that one victory came in a shootout over the Vancouver Canucks last week. And they would love nothing more than to snap the Oilers' streak. Let's go around the National Hockey League. 9 games on the schedule tonight. Let's get you up to speed on action out of town. We've already got 5 games underway in Detroit tonight. Dallas leading 5-2 late in the second period. 2:46 remaining there. Ottawa up 3-0 on Montreal. Also 2:46 remaining there. At the Bell Center, 3-0 is the score. 4-2, Tampa leads Philly late in the second, 2 minutes left there. The Islanders and the Golden Knights. I can't believe Patrick Waugh is the coach of the New York Islanders. Iwanyk, when you heard Patrick Waugh was going to be the next coach of the New York Islanders, where you're like, yeah, that makes a lot of sense, because I sure as hell didn't.
No, I was with you. It was one of those where, like, I go back to when the Oilers were making their coaching change, and you start thinking, like, who could be the interim, and you're throwing in, like, Gerard Gallant and stuff. No one, like, and Patrick Waugh never even crossed the mind. And not even in a way of, like, that's stupid, he would never come here type thing. Like, his name, I knew one day he'd be back in the league coaching, but I figured it would be in an off-season story where he's being courted by a little bit, not just randomly. Here's a press release from Lou Lamoriello saying Patrick Waugh is the new head coach of the team. I did throw this out there on 2 guys and a goalie. This is just purely just gut of me speaking, pure speculation. This is a guy who he likes power a little bit too, right? Yeah. Lou's 81. Has he been promised more power over the next few years or something? Like, if all of a sudden this offseason we hear Lou's retired, or next offseason Lou's stepping away and Patrick Waugh takes over as GM, I'll go back to this and go, this makes now completely perfect sense of why Patrick Waugh went to Long Island. But no, like, I don't think anyone saw Patty Waugh going to be named as the new head coach of the New York Islanders this season.
Yeah, I didn't ever in my mind think Patrick Waugh, a Lou Lamoriello guy. No, I didn't even know they knew each other. So, Patrick Waugh, his Islanders tied at 1 with the Vegas Golden Knights that game on Long Island. Second period, 5 minutes in there. Minnesota and Washington, that one late in the first. The Wild up 2-0 on the Caps. You got Calgary welcoming in the St. Louis Blues. Of course, the Oilers get the Blue Jackets. Anaheim gets Buffalo tonight, 8 o'clock start our time there. And then the late one sees San Jose welcome the New York Rangers to the Shark Tank. Yeah, I did not see that one coming. And interesting. Lou Lamoriello, man, does things his own way. 780-218-9999. Del, I have no idea what you're talking about in the nasty chat. But Del, you go off on your tangents from time to time. So I don't know, man. I'll have to keep up with you. I will do this, though, because I saw Freezer Bag and some others saying, what game on the 12th? Well, join Edmonton Sports Talk for the Super Bowl at Century Casino Sports Bar and Lounge on Sunday, February 11th. You'll have a chance to win EST merch, spot on the hangout, and more, plus our 6 o'clocker lager will be in stock and available for the big game only at Century Casino on Fort Road. I didn't catch that, Iwanyk, but Dusty had the 12th.
No, I know. I printed that liner off for the hangout room, and as I was reading it, whenever I printed off, I was like, wait, hold on a second. Is it on the 11th? And so I quickly edited. I didn't actually go on air with it. I was lucky enough that I didn't hit it as cold as you did there, and I remembered. But there might be some news about us on the 12th. I'll just say that. So it kind of works out, maybe. I'll just say that. That's all I'll say.
Oh, a little cliffhanger.
I'll just go with that.
I like it, Matthew. You tease. Now you're tapping the pen. Yeah. You're excited, aren't you? You've got a big grin on your face, don't you?
It's something a little fun. I don't know. I think it'll be fun. So we'll have further discussion tomorrow in the EST offices about it. And I don't know when Dusty's going to talk about it. So that's all I'll say. That's all I'll say.
Oh, Dusty back tomorrow?
Yes. He will be back in the morning show host chair with Lieutenant Eric with the full recap of this game between the Oilers and the Blue Jackets and a lot of other things. A few other things he's got to throw out there, but it's, Dusty should be back tomorrow.
All right.
Well, not should be. He will be back tomorrow. So.
He will be back tomorrow. Freezer Bag saying Gazzola doesn't go over his notes.
No, because I got confused.
But I trust them.
Yeah, no, it's one that I got I for some reason have been thinking it was on the 12th or something, but I think that was last year's Super Bowl, so it's all you just get your days confused.
Some people can't get past it, evidently. That's okay. Andrew E. of the Nasty Chat says, Tommy, any news on both Carter Hart and Dylan Dubé taking time off? They were both on that investigated Canada junior team. No, that's one where I thought about that right away, and I'll just let that whole thing take its course. But there was some talk. Kevin Kurz wrote an article in The Athletic talking about Carter Hart. He's been sick a lot lately. He's been dealing with a ton of illness, and it's been bothering him. That's what was written in the article. As for the whole Hockey Canada investigation, I will wait till they put out a statement or something is put out from their side. That's I don't know, Iwanyk. That's one where I'm going to leave it to them because it's not a good situation.
Yes, I understand why people are putting two and two together. I will let the NHL or whatever, if anything comes, I'll let them tell me it's 4. I'll wait till then. Yeah. Until that, like, I get that everyone sits there and then they're going to make their judgment, and that's, everyone can do whatever they want with it. I won't say anything on it until it might just be they're dealing with something personally. It could be that, right? It's like, it's one, you just let everything take its course, and, you deal with the cards when they're dealt.
Yes. Yeah. That's, I'll leave that one there, and we'll go from there. All right. In terms of tonight's action, just some notes to pass along your way. The Oilers and Blue Jackets will play again after tonight on March 7th in Columbus. Edmonton, of course, coming off that 3-1 win in Calgary Saturday. The Jackets 4-1 loss to New Jersey on Friday. Edmonton kicking off a 3-game homestand. Chicago comes in Thursday. Nashville on Saturday. The Jackets kicking off a 5-game Western Conference road trip. Edmonton, Calgary, Vancouver, Seattle, and St. Louis. The Oil, 13-6-1 at home this season. They've won 4 straight home games. The Columbus Blue Jackets, 5-9-5 on the road this year. And Edmonton, 23-6-3 all-time at home against Columbus. And the Jackets, though, have won the last 3 meetings between these two clubs. And then all-time, the Oilers hold a 37-17-8 record with 3 ties against Columbus. Edmonton 6-3-1 in its last 10 games. And versus the Metro Division, the Oil 7-4. The Blue Jackets versus the Pacific 2-1-2. Iwanyk, I remember when the Jackets came into the league, and I went to one of their games, and I thought it was kind of cool at first to see one of the new teams, but I was like, oh, this team's not great. Even Minnesota, and Minnesota was playing under Jacques Lemaire. Really boring. It was that trap, boring, defensive, grinded out style. I did see some Oilers and Wild ties back in the day in the early 2000s, but this Jackets team, man, it looked like they were returning a corner a few years ago. Panarin wanted out. Bobrovsky wanted out. Duchesne was a rental. And then now it looks like just a mess, doesn't it?
Well, it doesn't look like it is a mess. And it's one of those where even this year, just how their season began, they go out, they bring in Mike Babcock, they deal with that circumstance of him being hired, and then everything that happens in training camp, and Mike Babcock doesn't even see a game as a head coach as the Columbus Blue Jackets in the regular season. It's just also one there that you go, why weren't more people without a job at that point? Like, Jarmo Kekalainen has been there for a long time now, and it looked good at one point. They're the team that knocked off the Tampa Bay Lightning in that sweep that everyone thought maybe the Lightning need to be, they're going to be a blow-up. Are they going to get rid of people? They didn't. They won 2 cups, but that was the team that swept them. And they've never, I don't think they've ever gotten to a conference finals. Like that year, they got knocked out in the second round, I think, to the Islanders, I believe it was. Yeah. Look, the Columbus Blue Jackets are the prime reason why the Vegas Golden Knights and the Seattle Kraken got the expansion rules that they got. No one wants to spend $500, $600 million and be stuck with a franchise that it's very difficult to come out of and then turn into the Columbus Blue Jackets, and no one ever then wants to ever go there. So yeah, it's something else to watch, and I'll be stunned if Kekalainen is still the GM come next year.
Fair point. Dare I say Doug MacLean, Maddie? And I know you said you loved him as a guest.
Doug MacLean was one of my favorite guests at 1260 ever. I love Doug. And at one period of time, he followed like 70 people on Twitter, and I was one of them. It was just so random. And we exchanged a couple of DMs at points. We had great chats on the phone prior to him jumping on. Him on the air was great. I will always love Doug MacLean. Don't badmouth Doug MacLean.
Great broadcaster. Not so much on the GM side, right? Is that fair?
As a coach, he did bring the Panthers to a Stanley Cup final. I will say that.
He did.
Give some respect to Doug MacLean's name there.
All right. I'm not besmirching Doug MacLean's name. I'm just saying that, yes, but in all seriousness, like, I don't know, Jarmo Kekalainen, I think he's like the second longest tenured GM in the NHL right now behind Doug Armstrong in St. Louis. And I don't know how this lasts. And unless the Jackets ownership group is so passive and so content that they're going to leave Kekalainen in place and they still have trust with him a decade later. Okay, I guess so. Good luck, because right now this team looks like a mess. And it's interesting. I was talking to the Jackets PR team today, Glenn, my buddy Glenn, who's a PR director. And I said, how's it going right now? Like, are people showing up for the games? And he goes, you know what? The last seven of the last 8 games at home, Maddie, they've sold out. And the one game that didn't sell out, it was somewhere between 500 to 1,000 tickets were available. So, in an 18,500 seat building, they had 17,500. And there was a trick back in the day. The Oilers, when they would have that situation, they would get a big company to buy the rest of the tickets and distribute them amongst their employees. The Jackets didn't do that, but he said that the fans there have stuck with this group. The fans there want to see this team have success. The fans there love hockey. I've been to Columbus multiple times to cover games there. It is a good hockey market. And if anybody doesn't think so, they're wrong. It's just this team has been led astray by some GMs that got out GM'd every year. There was Doug McLean we talked about.
Scott Housen and Jarmo Kekalainen.
They've
only had 3 GMs in this time,
only had 3
which
GMs.
is wild to think. That in all of that time, they've actually been really patient with their general managers and haven't made the moves. Taylor from Indiana's in the nasty chat saying Blue Jackets games are so fun, such a great atmosphere. Tickets are cheap, sat at the glass for $100 US. Like, it does look like from the outside looking in that there's a hockey market that's just ready to explode and really get behind their team, but they just don't have a team to support because they're just garbage for the most part. And we talk about how, like, the Elks, they haven't been good for a long time. At least they won a Grey Cup in 2015. At least they had a good year in 2014. Like, the Blue Jackets' best year is they got to the second round. And they've been around for over 20 years now. I feel for them. Like, it could be a situation where, Carolina's kind of turned into quite a decent hockey spot. I wonder if Columbus had 4 or 5 good seasons. And I'm not saying a Stanley Cup in there, but good seasons with maybe one conference finals appearance in there or something. What that market could actually fully turn into. But they just never have had a consistent team there, and it's a bit of a shame for that market.
All-Star Game was a smash hit in 2015 there, and it's too bad. But we'll see if you're right by the time next season rolls around, if Jarmo Kekalainen is still the GM for the Blue Jackets. We're going to say something there, Matt?
No, I'm just saying, yeah.
Oh.
I was just going to think, like, I think I will be stunned, but I think if the ownership would have made that change, they would have done it at the start of this year, not after this year. Like, because Vincent he's full-time coach, is he not? He's not an interim, is he?
I think they just gave him the job.
And that's one where, like, that's where I believe then you're fully just trusting him again to give out a head coaching job, as opposed to, like, we had a weird situation with Mike Babcock. He's an idiot in a sense. We're getting rid of him. Let's now reevaluate this at the end of the season because it's so close to the start of the regular season. It's the Columbus Blue Jackets. Like, it's not a franchise where, like, you think, they should just keep promoting from within because things are so well and keep this running. And that's where, like, that to me then says maybe ownership, to your point, like, just doesn't care that much. And that's the sign that he will be back next year. But wow. Just wow.
Could you imagine owners that are just happy to have a team and sign $82 million in player pay every year, and then, millions of dollars to a GM, millions of dollars to a coach?
Well, what else do they do?
Millions of dollars to a president.
I gotta look what they own.
You gotta look them up. They've been the owners forever. While you do that, I'm going to go through the starting lineups again. No changes for the Oilers. McDavid with Nugent Hopkins and Hyman. Draisaitl with Kane and Fogle. McLeod between Janmark and Ryan. Holloway centering Gagner and Brown. That line got the game winner in Calgary on Saturday. On defense, Nurse and CC. Ekholm with Bouchard. Kulak with Desharnais. Out for the Oilers, Corey Perry. Yep. Does sound weird, but it's a thing. Phil Kemp was loaned back down to Bakersfield this afternoon. As for the Columbus Blue Jackets, we're anticipating Cole Sillinger between Johnny Gaudreau and Yegor Chinnikov, Boone Jenner between Adam Fantilli and Jack Roslovic, Dmitry Voronkov with Kent Johnson and Kirill Marchenko, Sean Corelli centering Alexander Texier and Justin Danforth. On defense for the Jackets, Damon Severson with Adam Boqvist, Ivan Provorov with Andrew Peak, Jake Bean with Eric Goodbranson. Out for the Jackets, Patrick Laine, IR collarbone, Zach Werenski, IR ankle, Matthew Olivier, Emil Bermstrom, and David Urasek are healthy scratches. Starting in goal for the Oilers, 25-year-old Stuart Skinner, 21-9-1 on the year, 253 goals against average, 906 save percentage, 2 shutouts in 32 games this year. Skinner versus the Jackets, 1-1-1 record, 272 goals against average, 909 save percentage in 3 games versus Columbus. At the other end of the rink, 29-year-old Elvis Merzlikins, 8-9-6, 326 goals against average, 905 save percentage in 25 games. Merzlikins versus the Oilers, 1-1, 267 GAA, 928 save percentage in 3 appearances versus Edmonton. Matthew Iwanyk, do you have their owners?
Well, it's John McConnell is the owner now, like listed as per Wikipedia and stuff, and his dad is the one that founded it. And then he passed in 2008, and he inherited the team as the majority owner of the team and the governor. So I feel like this just screams to me that it was his dad's thing, and he doesn't want to sell it because it was dad's, but he also doesn't care.
But, like, I mean, the owner here is heavily involved, but this is a different type of market. The Calgary owner is heavily involved.
Well, there's a way to be involved, or like involved without being involved as well, though. Like where it just to allow this to have happened, and it doesn't seem like the owners care. I don't know. It's just so weird, and I do somewhat hope that they figure it out at some point because I feel bad for a fan base like that. It's also like I will say this about Arizona too. As much as they don't want hockey, and they've made it very clear that they don't want hockey. They've also never really had a team that much. They had a couple of good years. They did go to a conference finals with Mike Smith, so they at least had that.
Yep.
But they themselves haven't really had the 5 straight years of being just a consistent playoff team that's been relatively good. But let's bring on 4 more expansion teams.
Oh, it's coming, buddy.
I know.
It's if Salt Lake City is going to be one of them, by the way, which sounds crazy, but yes.
Well,
they're ready.
By the end of this decade, there'll be 5 different hockey cities. Arizona will be gone. I do believe that. They'll have to relocate. I don't think it's soon, but I think closer to the end of this decade, and then there'll be 4 expansion teams.
Yep. Believe it. It sounds crazy, but it's going to happen. All right, let's wrap up with a few texts. Ontario Mom says, boys, I've been listening to lots of Perry content, and boy, the Toronto media upset he didn't sign with them. Kipper and Bourne are even saying that no other team wanted him other than Edmonton, which we know isn't true. I'm basking in everyone's want to play for the Leafs. Mirage fading. That text from Ontario Momes. Yeah, he had offers from a bunch of teams. David Pagnotta, who broke the Perry signing. We had him on Saturday on Hello Hockey. He talked about a bunch of suitors and the Oilers emerging, obviously, as a front runner. Maple Jet says, isn't Skinner 1 game away from breaking Grant Fuhr's record? Yes, he is.
Oh, he's one away from breaking his and Grant Fuhr's record. He's tied with Grant Fuhr.
Right, yeah.
They're saying that breaking Grant Fuhr's, well, it's his record as well at this moment. He does hold the record. He just shares it with Grant Fuhr. He's looking for sole possession.
There you go. I like how you are.
Well, I want to give him the credit right now because it's not just Grant Fuhr's record right now. It is also Stuart Skinner's.
Right. Fair point. Fair point, Matthew. JB Texas says, one thing I love about the Perry signing is that sometimes he parks in Flames goalie places while Calgary Flames fans make Calgary Flames faces. He's an a-hole. That's the Dennis Leary song. Great song. Great music video. Check it out if you get a chance. Box Pounder asking how the shoulder's doing. Maddie, are you out of the sling?
Yeah, out of the sling as of the weekend. Had a physio today, so the slow process to recovery really begins now. So The sling's off though, so
Perfect.
things are moving along.
All right. Get that thing ready to go for golf season, pal. And then Andrea says, Matty, you tease. How dare you make them wait until the 12th?
Well, I'm not saying you necessarily have to wait till the 12th. I'm assuming Dusty might say something at some point. Maybe not. Maybe you have to wait till the 12th for it. I don't know. We'll find out.
Okay. Joelle says, you sound like you're getting sick, Tommy. No, I've had coughing fits tonight. My throat is all raspy, so I think I feel okay. But thank you, Joelle. I think I'm doing okay. Maddie, do they get the job done? Are we talking about a 14th victory tonight after the game?
How do you say no? Who's going to be the guy that says no? Like, who wants to be the person that's like, no, this is it. They're done against Columbus. Yeah, it's over. Book it. No, not a chance. They'll do it.
Not a chance.
I'm not going to be that guy.
Hopefully, we're talking about a 14th consecutive victory for the Edmonton Oilers when we are back on the Oil Stream post-game show right here on EST. That's going to do it for the pregame show. Huge thank you to everyone who tuned in, texted in, watched, listened. You know we love you and appreciate you. So thank you so much. For Zach to come, Matt Kassian, and Matt Iwanyk, I'm Tom Gazzola saying enjoy the Oilers and the Blue Jackets. We'll see you on the post-game show. Ciao, ciao.